All right, Nolan, thank you. This Friday, rallies and marches will take place here in Wisconsin and across the country as part of May Day. Organizers say it's about promoting workers' rights, but also other causes, including opposition to ICE and immigration enforcement. Jason Zimmerman is in the newsroom with the details on what's happening in our area. Jason.
At least 5 rallies will take place in our area of the state on May Day with the theme of workers over billionaires. Organizers are also asking everyone to sign a pledge and join a boycott, which includes no work, no school, no shopping, and even closing a business. There's 3 big issues being highlighted at these rallies. One is a call for politicians to tax the rich over the working class. Also, no funding for ICE and no war in Iran. Plus, they say democracy is at stake with a number of voting changes proposed by the Trump administration. In a national news conference this afternoon, several event leaders spoke out.
As we are in this moment where you are fighting against exploitation, against the exclusion of the other, against the rise of authoritarianism that we see with the administration, we view May Day as more essential, more critical now more than ever.
Rallies in our area will take place in Appleton, Green Bay, Marinette, Manitowoc, and Sheboygan. All of this as Congress struggles to reach a deal that would fund the Department of Homeland Security, a key issue for many of the people who will be at these events. Elise, back to you.